Reflection on Culture, Ethnicity, and Race, Keith Knight, Concordia University, EDGR 535. Social identity is a category that an individual identifies with as a sense of where they belong. We use categories such as culture, race, and ethnicity to help us understand the social environment that we live in. Merriam-Webster defines culture as a set of ideas, a belief, a custom, or a social behavior of a particular group of individuals or society. Race is a group of people that share similar physical characteristics. Merriam-Webster defines ethnic as a social group or race that have a common custom, religion, or culture. Students adopt the identity of a group that they associate with and believe that they belong to. As a result of this association, the individual conforms to the norms of the identified group. Stets and Burke indicate that individuals behave in concert with their identified group and are more likely than not to participate in the group's culture and to show attraction to the group in their behavior. Conformity to the norms of a group carries emotional and self-esteem implications and acceptance of the group's constructs. Once we have identified with a group, we tend to perform social comparisons between ourselves and other groups. Social comparisons lead to generalizations of a group, which in turn form our assumptions of other groups, whether similar or dissimilar. Our assumptions of multiple groups creates a stereotype, which is a broad viewpoint based on our perception of reality. Our assumptions help us to navigate through the social world we live in, and more experiences that reinforce our assumptions, the stronger the stereotype is ingrained in our belief. Negative stereotypes that remain unchallenged could lead to prejudice in the form of discrimination. The impact of social identities on me. Paris and Newman indicate that some teachers have an assumption that all children of the same age acquire similar skills at a similar pace, regardless of their life experiences or circumstances. However, every student in a classroom comes with a set of behaviors and characteristics that makes them unique and that affects their academic and social success. Students learn and acquire knowledge differently and learn at different paces. Diverse classrooms increases the challenges to find effective strategies to help all students succeed academically and socially. As a teacher, I need awareness of the diverse cultures, the races, and ethnic backgrounds of all students in order to create a positive and nurturing relationship. Teachers are faced with making instruction culturally responsive, to structure lessons that acknowledges diverse perspectives and respects the individuality of each student. Our assumptions guide how we interact with students and our expectations of the student's potential academic achievement. Lacking awareness of a student's background inhibits me from providing the student with what they require to achieve their full potential, socially and academically. Teachers can utilize social identity information to create a learning environment where each student can make connections. The impact of social identities on students. The behavior of a student is framed by the constructs of the group that they identify with and the message that they receive from others around them. These behaviors in turn help to create the student's self-image. Peer groups, media, parents, and teachers all influence the development of a student's self-image. A positive self-image paves the way to academic success, while a poor self-image creates motivation and learning challenges for the student. Students need to be valued and appreciated at school. The influence of a negative stereotype of race, culture, or ethnicity undermines the student's capacity to learn. Students have a perception of teachers and whether or not students believe that they can achieve or be supported to succeed. Race, culture, and ethnic labels shape a student's behavior and the motivation to succeed academically or socially. Oftentimes, students with one social identity may attempt to assimilate into another group with a different identity, but may find rejection from the new group. Rejection may lead to withdrawal from social interaction and academics. The impact of social identities on schools. Rivell indicates that educational reforms need to adopt a system that is designed to meet all children where they are in early childhood and give them what they need: the quantity and quality of instruction, the level of support and opportunity in and out of school to enable them to enter young adulthood ready for success in work, citizenship, and lifelong learning. Cultural diversity within a school supports the idea of preparing students to dwell in a multicultural society. Students develop an understanding of diverse perspectives and learn to function within an environment of assorted cultures, races, and ethnicities. Students can develop a positive self-image, can have access to equitable educational opportunities, and collaborate with multiple perspectives and ways of thinking. The school's awareness of social identities can combat stereotypes and prejudicial behavior. Students' awareness of diverse cultures supports acceptance towards others whose beliefs are different. Aiden indicates that in a classroom with students from diverse backgrounds creates more cultural acceptance, and students learn about other traditions, languages, cultures, and beliefs. What assumptions do we make about people from different races, ethnicities, and cultures? We carry an attitude, a belief, or stereotype associated with poverty, culture, race, and gender. Our assumptions are based on experiences, hearsay, observations, our own culture, and perception of reality. Whether by appearance, behavior, or race, we have painted a mental picture that carries along with it predefined subjective truths. We create assumptions based on what we know or perceive to be true, and our assumptions sometimes leads to misunderstandings. The assumptions we create become a standard for how we judge others. Hobson indicates that we judge others based on our perception of the truth, and we ignore the potential in others. Assumptions are learned behavior, and like with any other memory, the storage strength increases the more we retrieve the memory and associate the memory in different contexts. Our assumptions toward different races, ethnicities, and cultures come from beliefs in our own culture through experiences or observations. Cultures help us predefine the world that we see around us. If we believe the assumption is true, then we act in a manner that is guided by that assumption. In a classroom, our assumptions guide how we interact with students and our expectations of the student's academic worth. If a teacher conveys an attitude of low self-worth towards a student, then the student will lack motivation to excel. Students adapt to their surroundings and will attain the level of expectation that the teacher sets. Assumptions that we have about students from different races, ethnicities, and cultures may negatively influence how we treat them and engage them in learning. Confucius said, "All people are the same. It's only their habits that are different." Why is there a dichotomy where some students achieve and some students do not? Sequel and Bacon indicate disparities in performance of African American students and students receiving special education, and between high and low SES students, respectively. The evidence revealed that high achievement of the majority was carrying the academic burden, and the academic level of the minority was being ignored. Low SES, stress, cultural differences, social identity, and the group's constructs, motivation, level of cognitive development, educational support at home are only a few factors that could create the observable achievement gap. Equity is the underlying discrepancy. Eric Jensen indicates that poverty is debilitating, and the condition affects the mind, the body, and the soul. And Harris indicates that long-term repeated stress affects the development of the brain, behavior, and the capacity to learn. Equality is placing all students on a level playing field, treating everyone the same, showing no partiality. The premise of student success through excellence means cultivating their talent and maximizing their potential to excel socially, emotionally, and academically within an educational framework. To ensure excellence through equity, it is essential to provide the appropriate support system to address the needs of all students by eliminating the structural barriers related to race, gender, and poverty, providing personalized learning, recognizing student diversity and environmental factors that affect each individual learner, and understanding that some students require more time, attention, and support in order to be successful. Sequel and Bacon indicate that the complete picture was about personalizing the instruction to meet the needs of the students. Sequel and Bacon also indicated that equity fosters excellence for all. Teachers' expectations and beliefs of low SES or low cognitive ability and teachers' responsiveness of how to interact, teach, and meet the needs of these students all affect learning. Bradley and Corbin indicate that low SES students lack access to cognitively stimulating activities, which limits their cognitive growth. Teachers' awareness to the challenges that students from diverse backgrounds face and how best to respond to this diversity affects learning. The absence of a nurturing environment leads to poor social, psychological, and developmental growth. Knowing a student's background brings awareness of how they learn, what motivates them, and what challenges they face in order to create an environment in which the student can get what they need to succeed. Why is it important to develop equity in your classroom? Blankenstein indicates that equity is to ensure that every student receives what he or she needs to succeed. Supporting equity means heterogeneously grouping students from diverse backgrounds will allow learning to flourish. I teach high school math, and math literacy schools develop when students from culturally diverse backgrounds collaborate. And in an educational culture that ignores equity merely widens the achievement gap. Ignoring equity means we deprive the basic right of every individual to receive and have access to the resources required to grow and develop into their full potential. Murdoch explains that cultural forces, whether racial, ethnic, or gender, help students to define who they are and construct a vision of who they might want to become. If an educator's role is to support the social, emotional, academic development of a student, then by ignoring equity in my classroom, I deny the very reason of being an educator. Students who adapt to their surroundings from discrimination, a cultural belief, or socioeconomic status adapt a perception of academic success or failure. How will this perspective affect what I teach, and how will I teach it? Knowing a student's background helps to understand how they learn, what motivates them, what challenges they face in order to create an environment in which the student can get what they need to succeed. Having an awareness of diverse social identities in the classroom guides my instructional approach to make instruction culturally responsive so students can make connections and be successful. Differentiation addresses the issue of equity, to start at a student's initial cognitive ability. Equity in the classroom reflects the allocation of resources to ensure students receive what they need to succeed. As a teacher, I seek to cultivate a community of learners where students are mutually supportive of one another, with a desire to see their peers succeed. How I teach needs to reflect an attitude of acceptance of all diverse learners through modeling. Eliot indicates that changing the attitudes of the young will hopefully rub off to the point of changing the attitudes of others. We live in a society where individuals are rewarded by their ability, and the rich and the more advantaged individuals become the ruling class. The disparity in student achievement is explained by factors such as poverty, poor infant care, lack of family support, lack of medial resources, neighborhood violence, and financial insecurity. But excellence for all comes through equity.